Alright, hey everybody. So I want to talk about yesterday's news on March 15th, and something that I caught wind of this morning was how Deb Haaland was announced the first Indigenous U.S. Cabinet Secretary yesterday. And so seeing the date and how it lined up perfectly, a date that could be written 15/3, and if you followed any of my earlier work, I've talked about how Indigenous equals 153. And a number I often see within like the hidden background of the news and everything, right? So again, Deb Haaland is Native American, also you can say Indigenous, and looking at her birthday, December 2nd, 1960, that 1960 really pops because her full name, Deborah Ann Haaland, equals 60, and she's currently 60 years old. So I mean, what a time for her to be shining with her name Gematria and her age. And if you wanted to take a look from yesterday's announcement to her upcoming birthday, it was a span of 263 days, and American Indian equals 263. 263 is the 56 prime number, and what she normally goes by, Deb Haaland, equals 56. And don't forget that big coronavirus number, 56. And, just having that 263 and 56 is interesting, just, because American Indians, Native Americans with all different diseases. And it wasn't until after the Super Bowl of 2020 when all this outbroke, after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. I mean, I've noticed quite a bit with that. But talking about Indigenous people and making history, I took a look from Indigenous Peoples Day of October 12, 2020, and ran it to yesterday's date, and it was exactly 154 days later. And just like how it was stated up here, first Indigenous U.S. Cabinet Secretary, that equals 154. And how she was making history, U.S. history equals 154, and Native Americans equals 154 with an S. So again, I feel like I see these similar numbers in sports related, mascot teams like Chiefs, because Chiefs, when they did win the Super Bowl last year against the 49ers, both teams, an overall season record, including the postseason, they ended with a 15-4 record. So I mean, not really any surprise with that connection, with that number. And then they're saying that the Senate voted 51-40 in favor of her, and Indian equals 51. So definitely a strong number with 51 in Indian. I can go on about that, but I've made videos on it in the past. But Indian also equates to 103, and if you took her previous birthday to yesterday's announcement, was exactly 103 days after her birthday. And then just wanted to point out this headline. Of course, this has to do with Joe Biden because, of their high roles and stuff. They're obviously going to be, I guess, working together or such. But Joe Biden, if you wanted to take a look from his birthday to yesterday's date, it was exactly 115 days. American Indian equals 115. Or even if you wanted to run yesterday to his upcoming birthday, it was a span of 251 days. And Native Americans in reverse ordinal equals 251. 251 is the 54th prime number. Again, these familiar numbers, because 54, think about Super Bowl 54 and how the Native Americans won that, the Chiefs. And so another way you can tie in Joe Biden is from inauguration day to yesterday. It was exactly 54 days later, and Indigenous equals 54 added to the 4 ciphers. And one thing that I guess I hadn't been paying attention to is how media, or so-called, I guess they're saying, Native Americans refer to her as Auntie Deb, and Auntie Deb even equates to 54. So just an interesting time, I think, with all these Native American news within the past year, especially after the COVID outbreak and the Chiefs won, and Chiefs or Native Americans and diseases, and now she's being put in office. And some people think that Joe Biden might pass from this disease. So many ways of looking at it, and just how many like Native American news stories have broken from like the Braves and the Redskins changing their names, and just something I'm still looking out at and keeping my eyes on, I guess. But all right, we'll leave it there. See ya.